making another video, because why not? Got to get to 20 somehow, right? So one thing I do want to talk about is going to be this, like, what is it that I'm really wanting to build? I've got all these ideas, lots of ideas. Some of them are disparate, and it's not terribly cohesive. And so I'm trying to bring them together and find out how the pieces fit. I feel pretty strongly that this makes a lot of sense to build for myself first, and just go right, like, don't have to worry about theory this and like who's going to enjoy using this and like building for some mysterious person out there. First, I'll build it for myself, make sure that it works for myself. It could be janky as hell, but if the underlying principles are there and it's actually providing benefit for me, then like that's as good a place as any to start. And that way I know that I'm on some kind of a solid foundation. Maybe I let, Lydia and other people play with it and see how it works and give me feedback, and that's great. But yeah, starting with that. And so what I've got is I've started to write down just like, what does the absolute bare bones of this thing look like? Like, what is my day to day? How do I want it to change? And super basic is just like a checklist of things, like just habits. I know that the things that we do and think and say, they stack up over time. So there's a compounding effect that happens with time. And every day that goes by that I don't do fill in the blank is a day that I'm missing out on that compounding effect. So I believe that there are certain exercises that I can do that trains my mind and helps me to develop things, traits and skills that are extremely beneficial. They stabilize me, they strengthen me, they anchor me. A good one is meditation. So doing meditation once a day, every day, no matter what, and getting that solidly entrenched into my daily life would be super helpful. So I made a little list. So first thing, it would just be like a checklist. This is what I want to do. Okay, so then next I looked into, that's, so next I looked into a bit deeper than that, right? Do I want to do those things? Yes, but why do I want to do those things? Why do I need to do those things? Well, there are skill sets that are missing. Great. The thing that I'm really curious about is beliefs, because from what I can tell, beliefs are the bedrock layer of everything else. Like why you do what you do, say what you say, think what you think, has to do with your beliefs. And it's tricky. We don't really know. We're not aware of all of our beliefs, especially the ones that are foundational and the ones that are holding us back. Because if we did, it would be obvious, and we would have something to grapple with. And instead, I think most of us are just kind of cruise controlling through life, and we've got this faulty system that's just running in the background, and we're not really aware of it. So I want to hone in on what my beliefs are and what are my limiting beliefs, the things that are holding me back. And for that, I found a resource called Psycho-Cybernetics. There's a few, and I need to do more research on this for sure, but that stuck out to me just as I was reading a bit more about it. It clicked. A lot of the things that was discussed there clicked, that your belief of self or your self-image is going to be the most important thing. Like, okay, I can buy that. And if you want to program a belief, then it needs to be believable or believed by your subconscious. Like, I am amazing. And if you've got like this, but that's not really true, or like I'm lying to myself if I do that, then that shows that there's a problem. And so it goes into how to identify what your beliefs really are and how to pay attention to your body. And it looks helpful. So I think that having something like that, I would like to have. What else? The programming portion, it seems to happen in an area of the brain that is primitive. even perhaps beyond words, more rooted in feelings and imagery and imagination and that sort of thing. So what I'm looking to build, I want it to, maybe it has a vision board, which I've created for myself, a vision board that reminds that, like, this is my life, this is who I am, this is my life. Or taking a picture of myself and then using AI to age it 10 years or so, and like that me, future me, has made it in the ways that I want to make it, and is now guiding me and answering my questions and instructing me and helping me. So I've got a relationship with my future self. Because I'll be very real. I have periods of time where I'm like on the brink, just really in the depths of difficulty, and I have times where I feel hopeless and overwhelmed and get down on myself, and it's exhausting, when you're in a pool or you're running or something, and you get very tired and you want to just hold on to the side of the pool or slow down to a walk for a bit. That's okay. But sometimes I feel like that, and there's nowhere to hold on to. I'm out in open water, and the shore is still, I can't even see it. It's just kind of fog, and I keep hoping that I'm gonna see the end. I'm gonna get to the shore. And so far, it's just kept pulling away. So it's very challenging not to see the end. In fact, I've had to like patch together a mental framework that prevents me from hanging everything on seeing the end, on seeing the shore, because you don't always know, and I certainly don't know. In my case, I don't know when some of these extraordinarily difficult challenges are going to be over, and when I can rest, and when I can take a breath. I don't know. So this is reminding me of one of the ideas that I wrote down that I quite liked. I haven't thought about it for a while, but I liked this mental model. It was about time traveling, and just that if you are in the moment and you're suffering, there's no question in that moment of, can I bear this? Am I going to make it? Because you've already made it. You're here now, bearing it. Like, you're doing it. It's only when we try to forecast into the future, and we try to time travel, and we say, right, like, what about, in a day from now, am I going to be able to hold this for a day or a week or a month or a year or the rest of my life, or like, what does that look like? It's only then that all of a sudden we start to create this big mountain for ourselves. And it's totally natural to do that. Like, I do that all the time. But ultimately it drains our energy, and it's not actually a problem yet. Like, we haven't actually gone through the experience of bearing it for weeks or months or years. We're just creating that scenario in our heads and like feeling the weight of it, but it's completely in our heads. And you can get away with this for most situations in life. You can get away with this. You can take something that is stress level 3, and then you can compound it to stress level 6, and then you can just live with stress level 6 like the rest of your life, unless you decide, stress level 6 isn't for me. I'm going to make the necessary changes, blah, blah. That's fine. You can do that. But um, I think for myself, and I did that. I think we all do that. But there's something kind of magical that happens when your stress level and the challenge and the pain gets so great and it reaches a certain point that if you try to time travel, if you try to think into the future and you entertain the what ifs, then all of a sudden it's completely overwhelming. Like you will shut down and you will paralyze yourself and you will crash and burn. So like your survival, your success hinges on your ability to not time travel, because you won't get the shit done that you need to get done today if you are busy thinking about tomorrow, next week. So I say that that's funny because it's like, well, what's the fastest way to figure out how to offload all your problems and figure out the optimal way to deal with stress and challenges and incorrect models? Well, it may be the case that the best, fastest way to do it is actually to completely overload the system, like to make it so shit that you kind of are forced to. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel for sure. It's similar to that thought, what is it? Thought experiment model, whatever. That is, how long would it take you to go? Was it 100 yards? Okay, certain amount of time. What about 200 yards? What about 500? What about a mile? What about 3 miles, 5? Eventually, you get to a point where the time it takes you to get to each of these points is increasing. Obviously, you're gonna have to walk further, but then at a certain point, like maybe it's a mile or so, that time actually plummets because you go, screw this, I'm not gonna walk it, I'm gonna get a car or I'm gonna get a line bike, and then your time goes down dramatically. So the worst thing that could happen is that like you're kind of suboptimal for the rest of your life, and it never like pushes you to actually be like, okay, we've got to throw out the rule book, we've got to rethink things and actually make something that works. And I think that that's what's happened. That is definitely what's happened to me on a mind level. So I've been pushed to the point where I need to rethink some things that are pretty darn fundamental, and because otherwise I would have crashed and burned, and I probably will crash and burn if I don't keep it up. So yeah, blessing and a curse, but I'm going to take it as I'm going to see the silver lining and get as much out of this as I can.